Hi, I'm Alex Archbold, and I've been buying and selling antiques since I was 9 years old. From basements to scrapyards, I'll look just about anywhere I can to find lost antiques and collectibles. And sometimes I'll go big and buy everything. With my wife and kids, we run an antique shop in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, filled with some of the most unique items we can find. I never know what's going to happen or who I'm going to meet. This is our life, this is our adventure, and this is Curiosity Inc.
From home, honey.
Hi everybody, it is Monday morning, a chilly morning. The old truck started well. We got it back from the shop after what was a bit of an ordeal with the wiring. Got that all fixed up, and thankfully didn't catch on fire. Mind you, that would have kept me warm for about a hot minute. You don't want to keep warm roasting marshmallows by the side of your truck on fire. It is good to go now though. The shop mended it within a day or so. We had it back and we're back up and running with the truck. I'm glad for it because I had a call this morning to go pick up some stuff from a garage. The guy was cleaning out an estate. So the back of my truck, the back of my vehicle here is completely full of stuff. Old stuff, cool stuff, neat stuff. And that's just fine because we've been selling stuff at auction. Just 2 days ago, we had a big auction sale where we sold 930 things went up through the sale. And that's all gone. It's all going to new homes, and that's perfect. But we have to keep restocking the store. It's this never-ending cycle. It's this ebb and flow, this tide that comes and goes of stock coming and going out of the shop. So I'm out finding more stuff that I think is cool and neat and that we might be able to flip and make a couple bucks on for the shop. So I'm going to fill up for gas, which is where I'm at right now. And we're going to hit the road, get back to the shop and do an unboxing episode, and we'll see what we got. And in the meantime, I'm going to try and keep warm because it is awfully chilly out there. So follow along on today's misty, cold, chilly, wintry adventure while I unbox a bunch of stuff I bought out of a guy's garage. Doesn't sound exciting, but let's see what there is in the back. I think there'll be some neat things. Almost every morning starts for me like this. I've gone somewhere, either the night before or the day of. I've loaded up and I've got to bring it to the shop. In this case, this was an estate. Person is trying to get the house ready to sell, and they had some stuff they thought I could like. I paid $500 for everything that's in this truck, based on, kind of the things I saw that were in there and what I thought my potential resale would be. Now, there was a bucket of old Lego from 1980s in here. That's actually already sold for $150. So I'm down to being invested $350 in what's left here. So let's dig through. I'm going to get it loaded into the shop and we'll show you what's in the back of the truck. So I'm here offloading the truck and Paul shows up.
Is this for Spock? Is this his tricorder?
It could be. He'd be disappointed when he went to call somebody to get him off a planet and it's not what it is. Paul's offering to help me bring stuff in, so I guess I've got extra hands today. Everything is loaded in, and Paul is, my bike sold, hey?
Oh, it's sold.
Yeah, a button.
Button. Who's got that button?
Not my gumdrop button.
Must have flown off and...
That's right. What does it run on? Oh, buttons a day.
It runs on buttons.
Yeah, a fellow came, I popped in on Saturday just to kind of see how Bill was doing. It was pretty steady in the store, and a fellow from up north was in, and he was looking at the bike and told him it was a one-owner bike and one year release in Canada and all that. He knew all about them. I was preaching to the choir. He already knew he wanted it, so it's his now.
And it's sold at Riverside Honda, or Riverside.
Yeah, local bike, so easy to insure. So that'll be gone. That'll be down to my old 60s Honda here, and then this pile of stuff which I've got to go through. I guess before you head off, Paul, I may as well show you what's in the Spock tricorder case. It's funny, a lot of those old props were really just basic things you had around. You probably know what it is.
I'm guessing, it's a multimeter.
Yeah, but it's a cool looking one.
A heavy duty one.
Bakelite.
Look at that.
Isn't that cool? Apparently it still works. You know, it'll probably be alive and working longer than me.
Can you imagine having to count all those dots to figure out what it...
They just, well,
I get that at work when I get dial gauges and stuff. I'm like 16, 17, 18.
Oh, yeah, I know. You got to be so precise, but
Well, exactly.
handy thing to have, though.
Well, that's a very handy thing to have. This is like a multi-use thing. I mean, you can use this for anything. Testing your car battery to, you know, your home stuff. Yeah.
Surprising your kids by checking their currency through their ears in the morning.
You could put one on each earlobe and see if their ohms are, you know.
There's no place like Ohms.
There's no place like
Sherlock Ohms.
Sherlock Ohms.
Oh, and so forth.
Ohms on ohms.
Ohms on Ohms. This is my variety of stuff. They pulled this out of the attic while I was there, and I said, well, you know,
Underwood?
Yeah, I think so. Or Remington. It's got that. It's an Underwood. I think I can see the D up top there. But I'm like, man, that thing's pretty dusty. But surprisingly, it's not seized up at all. So a good
If you
cleaning.
ever get parts for these things, you know what I saw one person do years ago is they took the little keys and they made cufflinks with them. And it's kind of a cool idea.
That would be cool. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a couple of the glass keys that are missing. But I think it is actually a workable typewriter, again, with a little bit of effort. In mint condition, they're going for like a few $100 now. This one's probably worth 100 and something. Yeah. But I was saying, I had a bucket of Lego that was part of this deal. And I spent time like I usually do, and I built together some of the sets that were in the Lego. And I sold that for $150, somewhere around there, for the bucket, because there were some space sets in it. Yeah. So off that went, and so I'm down to, I paid $350 for everything that's here.
That's a good deal.
I think so.
There's some really cool stuff.
I think so, yeah. And I'm going to walk through some of that cool stuff. But I guess, are you off on your way?
I'm off on my way. I got to go to the Motor Vehicle Association and renegotiate my policy. Now that I own my vehicle, I don't have to pay full coverage.
Oh, right, yeah, because it's not
an extra couple $100 a year, I'm sure.
Hey, that'll help. Well, I appreciate you popping over.
Hey, no problem.
Well, it was nice to see Paul. He's off he goes on his way, on his Paul adventures. He said he set up a 1950s style tinsel tree in his house, but he's worried because he got a cat now, and he doesn't think the two are going to go together very well. Cats and tinsel, I'm sure that's not going to be a problem at all. Well, Paul goes to set up his tree at his house. I have to start getting this stuff put away at my shop here because I hate having my usual mess of stuff on the counters. But let's walk through. I'll show you what I got before I put it away and kind of, I guess, try and get some rough ideas what some of the stuff is worth. So as you know, I'm invested now since I sold the Lego, did okay on that. I'm invested in the rest of this stuff, excluding the guitar case, which just happened to be my car. About $350 or so is what I've gotten into this. Not including my time and my gas and whatever, but you know, hard money out. That's what I'm into it for. The ohm meter gauge, that's probably about $75, and I'm talking Canadian funds here. That's about $75. It's Bakelite. People collect. Maybe it's something you want to put on your shelf. Maybe it's something you just want to use. It's an interesting looking piece, and because it's Bakelite, it's worth a little bit more. If it was just sort of a regular plastic one or a slightly newer, it wouldn't really be worth a whole lot. The typewriter, I don't know how it's going to clean up. I'm actually going to grab a rag and see what kind of condition that paint's underneath all this dust. I'm just going to try a little bit of cleaner. This is just a little bit of spray line actually on a rag just to see if I can get some of that dust off of there. It's funny, a typewriter like this at some of the antique malls probably go for a pretty good price. If I leave it here long enough, it will sell. It just depends on how patient you are. I actually went to the antique mall in town with my kids the other day for my birthday. Wanted to have a look around. And I got back home and Melissa said, "Did you buy anything?" And I said, "No, I didn't see anything." She said, "Well, why didn't you buy anything?" I said, "Well, because a lot of it was our old stuff. I've been selling items at auction now regularly and wholesaling things out, which is kind of what I've always done. I've always preferred to wholesale in bulk and make a quick nickel. And so when I go to places like the antique mall, I see there's a lot of stuff that actually came from our store at some point and has made its way to the antique mall. So there's nothing really there that I need for collecting. The only thing I'm collecting myself is old toys like Hot Wheel cars and Corgi movie toys and things like that. And it's not too many that I need. So I don't really go too crazy buying stuff at the antique malls. Let's see. Well, it's looking better. It's not going to be super glossy because this is sort of that crinkle finish that they used to put on things. But it's cleaner anyway. I'll give it a bit more of a wipe down here and just get some of that dusty grease off. You know, the fact this thing was in a shop, like a garage, automotive garage, the dust that's on it probably has a little bit of oil in it. It might have actually helped keep this thing lubricated because, like I said, it's actually functioning pretty smoothly, which is great. Not often the case if it's in a humid environment. They get rusted and seized up. It takes quite a bit of work to unseize them. There, that's come together. People like these sort of things because of just how mechanical and how cool they are. You know, so changing your ribbon out right there, or advancing your ribbon, just all sorts of gears and gadgets and gizmos are just a really fun thing to have as decor and something you can play around with if you get bored too. Well, it's almost sellable now. I'll give it a little bit more of a clean, and we can put that out. Probably get probably get about 150 to 175 Canadian for that, I would say, because it is functioning. If, like I said, if the keys weren't missing, you'd be able to get almost double that. The person has the keys at home. Sometimes the person has the glass keys kicking around for whatever reason. You can replace them, but for me, that's going to end up being decor for someone else, and we'll take whatever offer we can on it. So off it goes. One item done. Amongst the other things that I picked up were a couple old Tonka toys. Now, some people say, why do you buy old toys? Like, what's with this? Why buy old toys? Well, the truth of it is old toys sell very well. There's always a buyer for them. And I think it's because it brings us back to that time in our lives where we're carefree and just having fun. Something like this, you're just out in the sandbox, just enjoying life, you know, bringing up your buckets and of sand and building your pretend roads. But, you know, even as a collectible, something like this is very, very durable and reliable. These would date back to probably the 1970s or so, maybe this one a little bit earlier. But the quality is just fantastic. I mean, these were not extremely well cared for. They've been well played with, but they still work. The steering still functions. It's got a functioning scraper on it. I mean, this is a toy that will probably last through several more generations. So even though this will probably only sell for maybe 30, 40 bucks because it's not in really great condition, it's still a toy that can be played with by some kid out in a sandbox again for another, you know, few generations. So really great value compared to a lot of the full-on plastic stuff that's out there now. So those will go out and on display. As for other toys that I found on site there, well, this is a 1940s era Lionel train set. Now, Lionel, which I think is partly owned by Neil Young now, is still in business and still around. It's considered an O gauge system, so it's quite a bit larger than your typical, the smaller stuff that you find. You can tell an O gauge set like this, an older one, because they have a 3-rail track. Your power actually goes through the center rail and it grounds out to the outer edges. And when I lift up the body, you can see there's your power right there on the center line, and then it grounds out to the outer wheels. These engines are very robust, very reliable. The earlier sets like this are a little bit more desirable. This is a die-cast metal engine, so it's quite heavy. Now, this is the tender that came with it. This hole right here would have been for a whistle tender. So if you had an upgraded version, they would actually have put a mechanism in here that made train sounds, and it would have had pickups in the middle that went on that middle rail. And when you hit a button on your transformer, which this transformer did not have, but some of them had it, you could send a surge of electricity through, which would trigger that whistle to go, and you'd hear a woo-woo out of this. This is the body and chassis for a whistle tender, but it was one that was never made that way. So it could have been worth a little bit more if it had that. The cars are not in overly great condition. There's some chips and some dings on them. And frankly, the train track is not really worth anything. A true collector of this stuff doesn't care about the train track. Maybe if you have it in the original set box, that would make a difference. But the switches are kind of fun. Maybe that's the only thing that has some value. But for the most part, train track for Lionel trains is not worth much. So I don't put really any kind of value on the track. We'll put it out in this box. We'll put it out as a, you know, an as-is sort of fixer-upper set for somebody. Probably worth, you know, maybe $150 or something like that on its own, mainly because of the engine, the tender. It's got a couple cars that are okay, like the Sunoco tanker. And this, which would have likely come with a diesel set, the 2429 Livingston passenger car. It's only one of them. It should have been 3 or 4 to make the whole set, but being it's an incomplete set, it's not worth as much as if it had its original set boxes and so forth. But still a good find and something that'll be a good seller right around the holidays like this, and people buy it, restore it, fix it up. Now, before Paul left, he was asking me what this was, and I knew what this was without even having taken it out of the case. The big hint, of course, were these sticks that the guy had. So he said, well, we've got these old tripods here if you're interested. And I saw there was this. And when I looked a little further in the garage, we found this wooden box. And I knew right away exactly what it was. Most of you watching at home will have an idea what it is too. It is a surveyor set. So this is the sight for surveying. It mounts on top of the sticks down there. So this piece, more of a 1940s, 50s kind of era set, would mount on top of that. So that's a complete set. And when you see the older, sort of the 1920s or prior sort of era, this nice wooden set, which is really quite an attractive looking set when it's all put together, and you see the matching box, you know, okay, well, this is the earlier piece, and you hope that it's inside. Bum, ba-da-dum, ba-ba-bum. Yep, there it is. 12-inch dumpy level. Well, there could have been a better name for that thing. Hey, go get your dumpy level. Dated at Tokyo. Okay, so this is actually a little bit newer. It's maybe post-war. It's a Japanese issue. Maybe there was something lost in the translation when they named it the dumpy level. But this is dated at Tokyo. Signed by the Zuilo Optical Instrument Company Limited. And inspected by Mr. T. Sato. That is still a good early piece. Attractive looking set. You know, you get a little bit better looking sets with the old brass ones. And they go back quite a few years. The brass ones are worth a little bit more, but the surveyor tripod sets, once they're all together, well, in fact, heck, I'm going to put the camera down and assemble one of these and show you what it looks like. And here I am trying to get this set up, and look how dusty this thing is. I'm going to go grab my vacuum and clean that thing off because it is just covered in years and years of dust. It's pretty gross. I don't want to do anything with it or try and sell it looking like that. Let me clean it up first. Well, it's not 100% cleaner, but it's better. And there we go, it's mounted. These feet mount onto these plates, nice and square. The reason for that, so you can do these little micro adjustments on it, so you can get your level just right. Neat piece of surveying equipment, and much nicer to have them with their heads back on top, so you can kind of get an idea what they look like. These will not be an easy sale, but somebody will think they're cool and they will sell. So off to the back room they go and await a future new owner. This was kind of a fun thing. I asked the fellow, I said, was this yours as a kid? And he said, no, it was my dad's, in fact, and because even dads like having fun with stuff. This is a Radio Shack Z707 Battle Iron Claw robot. I guess its intention would have been it looked like a fighting robot, but it's just a remote control vehicle with a couple little extra actions they've added to it. Robots were big back in the 80s, of course. You can remember Batteries Not Included, Johnny Five, Still Alive, all the good, great 80s robot type theme movies. So toys like this were pretty popular. This probably would have been, you know, designed so you could drive it around and go pick random stuff up like a pop can, bringing your Coke all the way to you without having to move, which seemed like the ideal thing back in the 80s. Everybody wanted to have a robot to bring them their drinks. In fact, they made some that were just like little butlers that would bring stuff around to people. So a fun little toy. It's nice that it's got its original box. It's all complete with the styrofoam controllers, everything. Value on this around $100 Canadian, somewhere between $80 and $100 Canadian. So that was a pretty good little find there, and it will, I'm sure, it'll find a home this Christmas season too, so that should be a fairly easy sale. A couple little toys here, like the big loader construction set, which appears to be all there in its box. And what kids with their fresh new front teeth couldn't be happier than those two kids and their construction set? Mind you, they seem happy just to be staring at it. They're not even playing with it. They're like, look, toys were just more exciting back then. You could just look at it and have fun. We got a few old comics. Nothing too spectacular, I don't think. I don't know what Dark Lawn the Mystic is, but it is its first issue. Anyway, there's a few little comics there. Nothing too great, I don't think. And a few records. Now, they had a box of records, and I've kind of come to a spot where if somebody says they have a box of records, I really only want the few that I want out of there. So the majority of it was, you know, like Nana Muscuri and Polka and stuff that frankly just doesn't sell. So I pulled out the Stray Cats, the original copy of the Birds, Mr. Tambourine Man, Neil Young, always a fan favorite. And I don't know how this one got in there. It was a K-Tel compilation album. I must have thought I thought it said Foreigner at the top. I'm like, that might sell. But then I looked at the back and I see what songs are on it. Echo Beach, Martha and the Muffins, Making Plans for Nigel. This is sort of a new wave compilation album from songs from the late 70s, early 80s. So it's actually kind of neat. So I'm glad I picked it up. And of course, the Beatles, 67 to 70. And Elvis Spin Out. And what's cool about this one, it's too bad it wasn't autographed. That would have been cool. Do you imagine? That'd be neat. But look, he's got an AC Cobra on the back cover. So just great graphics. You know, sometimes these things just look good framed and on your wall. So a few cool records there, ranging anywhere between $10, $15, and maybe even $20 each. So maybe there's $50, $60 or more worth of albums. And then there was a box of assorted estate goodies, which I'm going to go through and see what's inside. Well, first order of business, let's get some of the bigger things out of the way, like this 1970s sound design Super 8. It's actually an 8-track player is what it is. No 8 tracks in there. The future of modern music. Kind of a neat idea, though. I took a break because my phone was ringing. It ends up that's the transport company coming to pick up my old Rolls Royce, so it might be going today or tomorrow. But back to this cool thing. Probably worth $50 to $60 or so if I can get it working, but I have to get myself an 8-track to test it out, and I don't have an 8-track here, so I will probably keep that back by my till for the time being until I can find an 8-track and plug it in and try it out. But cool design, very 70s. That should be a fairly easy sale if I can get her working. But what's in the rest of the box? Can you guess? A cannon. A little miniature cannon. Just a novelty piece. They did actually make cannons this size that could fire. This is not a firing cannon. I don't believe anyway, no. You wouldn't want to put any kind of pressure or powder in that. There are miniature cannons like this that will actually fire off a little shell or a little bulb. This is not one. This is just a desktop piece. It is die-cast metal with the wood chassis or a wood frame. Wood spokes, kind of a nice little item, decor piece, maybe, you know, $40 or something like that. We've got, what on earth is this? Beaver Canoe. What do we have here? Looks like a harmonica case, to be honest. Yep, that's what it is. It's a cased harmonica. And another little box there, and it appears to be a straight razor. The box itself is in nice shape. Here's my hope with straight razors. When you get them, if the blades are chipped like that one, somebody would have to restore it. And there are people out there who can grind that and restore it, but darn, that's a shame because that's a very clean box and clean piece. But with the blade being like that, you would definitely not want to try. You would nick yourself for sure. It would be a Niagara Falls of pain down your face if you tried to shave with it. So that one we'll have to set aside. Not overly valuable. Hoping that I end up finding a couple other little neat pieces in here. Little desk clock. Well, I guess it's a bedside alarm clock is what this more of it. It's like a travel clock. You bring it with you in your suitcase, and when you need a alarm to wake yourself up, you'd have this little guy with you to, when you don't want to trust the person on the phone to wake you up. A little assortment of toy cars from the 80s, it looks like, and some watches mixed in here. I'm always pretty much interested in just mechanical. That's a 50s Timex. Don't see that one really working. Well, we'll have to kind of go through. I see from the transport here, they got a little frosty, a little cold. So I'll have to let these kind of dry off before I try and do anything with them. But it's always the old mechanical stuff that you want to look for. And sometimes, you know, if it's a good brand name, you know, Tudor, Rolex, Omega, even if it's in rough shape, it's worth money. So I kind of keep these. None of these are, by the way, but if they were, I'd keep them aside. That one is an old, that's an automatic 17 jewel. If that could clean up and be made to work, then you're looking about maybe an $80 to $120 watch, something like that. But, you know, none of these appear to be in working condition. Oh, look, not the right size for the Canon. A little steely in there. So a few little toy cars and stuff, which I'm always kind of keeping my eye open for. But what else is in here? More old watches. Got a little handful of them. Honestly, the battery operated ones are just, I put them in a jar and I'll probably donate them or auction them. Somebody wants to put batteries in them, so be it. I have absolutely zero interest in 99% of the battery operated watches that are out there. Most watch collectors don't have interest in them either. But it's the, like this 21 jewel, that's more interesting to somebody, you know, put a nice band on there and polish it up, get it working. The mechanical stuff is of more interest than the battery operated by a long shot. So anything that's sort of battery operated is going to go to the side. Maybe it's a good watch. That's the Timex Indiglo. Somebody could still use it at a watch, but I'm not a flea market or a thrift store, so it's not collectible. It's not for me. I've taken the liberty of going through the rest of the stuff in the box and bringing it out on the counter to look at. So in the box, we'll start on this side here, an anniversary edition Meccano set that I assume probably came out around 1998, would have been like a 100th anniversary sort of set. It has its original instructions and it looks like it's not been assembled or played with. It looks like it's pretty much all there. We'll keep that back in the box. There's a Ronson electronic lighter. Suppliers of electric shavers. Appointment to the Duke of Edinburgh. That's funny. Everything seems to be just slightly better, I guess, if it was made. Well, it's good enough for the royals. How much better could a lighter or electric razor be that it would have to be special for the royal family? Anyway, there's that. 1950 patent date Zippo lighter. Somebody has it's got a custom silver case around it. Probably, I'm guessing, picked up in Mexico since it's got the Aztec sort of ruin vibe to it. So there's probably a place you could go and they'd build you a custom case for your Zippo. And that's what this is. But the Zippo that's inside, encased in here, is actually from Niagara Falls, Ontario. They don't make them there anymore. And so they can be a little bit more collectible. And it's nice to have its box too. A little table lighter, Pierre Carlo, not even Pierre Cardin. This is the type of watch you get with a bottle of cologne, you know, like, or a gift set. You buy some socks and it comes with a special Pierre Carlo. Is he Italian? Is he French? We don't know, but it sounds fancy when it's put together. That would be a cheapy quartz watch, but, you know, probably still works. A nice little Victorinox Swiss Army knife, a little pocket size one here. And it looks like it might even have a couple little neat features on it too. I see a battery in there. It's got a flashlight built into it. That's kind of cool. A little pen knife. Make a good keychain. Surprisingly come in very handy, those things. That's the harmonica. Well, I guess that was about the excitement from inside that box. Oh, I did forget one other thing. There was a Gillette razor here. And I'll tell you what, I was less interested in the razor. I mean, the razor is probably like a $20, $30 razor if I get it all cleaned up in the ultrasonic and cleaned up to ready to go. It's a good razor. But this is a box for a Fat Boy. This is a box for actually a much more valuable razor, which I happen to have a loose one with no case. The razor, a Fat Boy razor, which I'll show you the difference. There we go. I had one behind the counter. A razor, here's the difference in value. A regular Gillette, 25, 30 bucks, somewhere around there. An adjustable Fat Boy razor, which is the stubbier, thicker handle version. And you can see it's got this adjustable thing for your depth, or I guess the closeness of your shave. These are like $100, $80 to $100 razor on their own, but when you have one with its original factory box, and yes, this case can be cleaned up, then they're worth quite a bit more. you know, $200 to $300. So even though it wasn't worth a whole lot on its own, when I put it together with its factory unit, I've got something quite valuable. Okay, I just gave it a bit of a wash down, and I'm gonna let it dry. See if I can get in there and get some of the rust. That would be somebody left a blade in there when it was kind of wet there, but it did clean up pretty decently. How I knew that this was the right case for that type of razor is this magnifying bubble right there. That was the feature that showed you that it was an adjustable razor, so that makes it the factory case for the Fat Boy. It just fits in there perfect. So a very good and very collectible little item. So there we go, everything's put away. And out of the original $500 investment, I think I'll get that back just out of the survey tripods alone, which means the rest of the stuff, like the little watches for repair and the knickknacks and things that I got Tonka trucks, it's all kind of bonus. But the one thing that kind of made me happy was finding the case for the Gillette Fat Boy, so I could complete that. That plastic case probably adds, you know, another $100 to the value of this item for a collector. So when you're in your grandma's basement and you see an old case for a razor, don't throw it out because it might be collectible to somebody. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's little unboxing video. We went through some stuff, found a few treasures, and made a little bit of profit. Well, eventually will once it sells. So thanks for watching as always. We'll see you all soon, and bye for now.